Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gadhari Bhagwan ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Thai Gaur Premanande, Hare Bo. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. First of all, thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, Her Grace Punpagya Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for giving me this opportunity and share my realization on this Nectar of Instruction verses. So, we are actually studying Nectar of Instruction text 2. So, let me share the screen first, and we'll start with reciting the verse first and translation as usual. Just a minute. Okay, Nectar of Instruction. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's start with intermediate class first. So we recite the verse and then translation.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Shital Prabhuji.
I
Thank
think
you.
your voice is bit actually very low and echoing a little bit. Yeah.
Uh, just a second, Prabhu. I'll fix it.
Yeah. I think it's better now for some reason. Okay.
Is it better now?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Thank you, Shital Prabhuji. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, His Grace Krishna Hapan Krishna Prabhu, and His Grace Purna Pradna Mataji for training us. अत्यहार प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमागः जनसङ्गश्च लौल्यं च षड्भिर्भक्तिर्विनश्यति. Translation: one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Om Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, Her Grace Purna Pragya Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhuji for training us and organizing these classes. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha laulyam cha shabdir bhaktir vinashyati. Translation: one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the scriptural rules and regulation only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulation of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. Sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for taking class. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji. His Grace Amrish Prabhuji is our Grace Purna Praja Mataji. His Grace Krishna Sarpan Krishna Prabhuji for teaching us and giving us the platform. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangasya lolyam cha Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashyati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. One's devotional service is when he becomes too entangled in the following six activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5th, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6th, being greedy for mundane subject achievements. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So, thank you, Mataji. So, we are currently actually going through the purport. I think last time we finished the Niyamagraha part. So, we'll continue our discussion from that point onward now. So, let me scroll. Okay. It's quite a big purport to go through. Okay. Who would like to actually read today? Okay, Pradhan Prabhu, yeah, we can start with you.
Yes, sir. One should also avoid association with Mayavadis, who simply blaspheme Vaishnavas, devotees. Bhukti, Bhukti Kamis, who are interested in material happiness. Mukti Kamis, who desire liberation by merging in the existence of the formless absolute Brahman. And Siddhi Kamis, who desire the perfection of mystic yoga practice, are classified as Atyaharis. To associate with such persons is not at all desirable. Desires to expand.
Yes, continue, Prabhuji.
Desires to expand the mind by perfecting mystic yoga, to merge into the existence of Brahman, or to attain whimsical material prosperity are all included within the category of greed, lolya. All attempts to acquire such material benefits or so-called spiritual advancement are impediments on the path of Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so here is a Srila Prabhupada is now further explaining the actually who else can be actually come under the category of Atyaharis. So he say one should avoid the association of Mayavadis who simply blaspheme the Vaishnavas, devotees, and Bhuktikamis who are interested in material happiness, and Muktikamis who desire liberation by merging in the existence of formless absolute, that is Brahman, and Siddhikamis who desire the perfection of mystic yoga practice. They're all classified as Atyaharis, and their association, is not desirable. So here, so the Mayavadis actually. So I think we had actually many classes, where Amrish Prabhu has actually explained this concept of Mayavad. So the Mayavadis, they actually do not accept, Lord Krishna as a person. So they believe in impersonal aspect of Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. So they're also actually constantly they blaspheme the Vaishnavas, right? So first thing here, actually, what is recommendation is to avoid their association, right? So that is the best thing to do, rather than actually associating and arguing with them. So one of the reason we do not associate or actually argue with Mayavadis, I think this point also came before as well. is that I think when we studied the Sri Ishopnishad, I think that point actually mentioned that it's better to actually avoid the association. Obviously, that we do not want that actually undesirable association to influence us, and also we do not argue with them on these points because yes, they could be very strong in their philosophy as well, so they can easily defeat us, So that was Amrish also mentioned that, in one of his class. So we are just students, so we have to be very very careful, and also by actually arguing, actually we are also uh, actually making us actually make more offenses. So if we argue, they're probably going to blaspheme us, more and more. So actually, they will be again committing more and more sins as well. So this is the point. I think sometimes we do not think that by actually getting into argument, with the Mayavadis is also not going to help them and help us as well. So obviously, the association is not desirable because our actually firm belief that we accept, actually Lord Krishna as a person. We also we understand all three actual aspect of the absolute truth, right? As a Brahman, as a Paramatma, and as a Bhagwan. So their association is not going to be beneficial. And their second category is Bhuktigamis. So actually, who are interested in material happiness, So karmis. So even actually the karmis who are actually engaged in karma kand process as well. So their actually normally main objective is to get a derive a material benefit, So they may engage in actually doing various sacrifices, as per they are recommended in Vedas, but they're not really interested in actually their spiritual progress, So they are actually using Vedic injunction to actually get more and more money or actually any other material benefit. So again, the aim is the sense gratification, right? So yeah, we are not interested in sense gratification. So we are actually trying to detach from sense gratification. So their association is definitely not very favorable for us. Also, the muktikamis. So basically, who desire, the liberation by merging in the existence of formless absolute, that is a Brahman. So that is also Mayavad. Srila Prabhupada also spoke on this many times. In his lectures. So where he even actually we had discussion on this point in many classes. So the concept of this actually merging into the formless Brahman. So they think that actually God is impersonal, and they think that after attaining the liberation, so once they give up this material body, they also want to actually go and merge into the Brahman, into the actually they want to be one with the God. So by actually desiring so, actually the first thing is that they think that they are as good as God. So that is again the ahankar is there. So our actually position is that we actually means Hare Krishna philosophy says that we are the part and parcel of God, and we are always a subordinate. We are not equal to God. So this is a very very important point. Where here actually one who want to actually attain the liberation to get to the stage and want to merge. So there they think that there is no difference between them and the God, because once they actually merge, they want to annihilate their identity, right? So they become one. So basically, what they are actually considering that there is no difference remains between God and them. So this is also out of ego. And then Siddhikamis, right? So who desire perfection of mystic yoga practice. So here, actually, by practicing yoga practice, various actually siddhis can be attained. So by these siddhis, actually, because the siddhis, you can have, this can be like a magical powers as well. They can become bigger than the big, smaller than the small, they can become lighter than the air. That means they can actually float. They can actually travel to the other planets as well, So all these also, if you're practicing yoga practice just to attain these siddhis, then these things again fall into material category, right? So this is also kind of a sense gratification. So there is no any spiritual benefit unless you progress further and you come to the point of bhakti yoga. So association of these, actually the Siddhikamis, Muktikamis, Bhaktikamis, Mayavadis, and their influence on us is not going to be very beneficial for your devotional service. So that's why Srila Prabhupada is writing in his purport to that the actually association with these people we must actually avoid, so, and we actually always uh, try to remain in association of actually sadhus, actually the devotees. Uh, so we actually the like-minded person, as we say. So that is actually going to help us, And even when we say devotees, particularly we are talking about the pure devotees, right? So that is actually very favorable for one's progress. And next, actually, in the paragraph, he said, desire to expand the mind by perfecting mystic yoga to merge into the existent Brahman, to attain whimsical material prosperity, they all included within the category of a greed. So love. So the now we are looking at the actually love. So here also try to. I think it sounds very similar to Atyahar, the love, greed. So when we look at the actually greed, so how do we define the greed? Anyone? Do you know what is the definition of a greed?
Want more than required. We want more than what is
Required.
required.
Yeah. Yes. So more than required means again Atyahar, right? Yeah. So we try to actually get more actually things than what we require. So yeah. So yeah, it sounds very similar. So actually, greed is also there is a unlimited desire for material prosperity. So not just material prosperity, any materialistic thing. If we actually lust towards those things, so you can call this as a greed. So there is greed for money, the greed to become famous as well. Actually, greed to attain certain things. So these are all greedy tendencies. So the greed part is also uh, not going to be actually very helpful. Just give me a minute. I try to share the screen. So when we look at the actually various type of siddhis that we can attain by actually practicing the yogic practice, so there are actually, if you have heard before, there is Ashta Siddhis. I think this reference also comes. I think it's Nectar of Instruction, probably, or maybe Shishobnishad. I think there is one actually verse that actually specify all these Ashtasiddhis. So, okay. So there are actually, one is actually called anima, So the ability to become as small as an atom, So this is one of the siddhi you can attain by practicing the mystic yoga process. This also called, second one is mahima, the ability to become infinitely large, So as I say, bigger than the big, You can become big, you can become smaller than small. So anima and mahima. Then laghima, this ability to become weightless, very light. Garima is independently heavy, very heavy. Then is a prapti, obtain anything one desire, or travel to anywhere or other planets, So all these actually sound like very powerful things, to attain. And also there is ability to actually fulfill one's desires, having actually power or control over the certain elements in the universe, or even actually to have a control over other living entities, So all these siddhis can be attained by practicing yogic actually practice. So, so when you look at all these siddhis, it doesn't look like that there is anything spiritual, right? So all these actually siddhis means you have special powers, So you must have heard actually the Dynamo, actually his magician who used to come on some TV program. I remember Amrish Bhu also, he mentioned, a few years ago when we had the lecture. So I also actually watched, one of his programs. So yes, it sounds like he has actually attained, maybe one of these kind of siddhis, so he can actually float and all that. So yes, so these things are real, right? It's not like I think it used to happen maybe 100 years back. One can still attain this siddhis by practicing the prescription given under the mystic yoga practice. But still, this is very much material. That's why Srila Prabhupada is saying that all these things expand the mind and actually merging into existence of Brahman. So that's Mayavad, or actually attaining a whimsical material prosperity. You can become very rich and opulent. So all these are actually the category of greed. And Srila Prabhupada say attempt to acquire such material benefit or so-called spiritual advancement are impediments. So that can check our progress onto the actually devotional path. Because when we say bhakti, so the renunciation or the actually detachment from the materialistic things is very very important, right? So as we say, we become more and more detached from materialistic thing or materialistic opulence. Automatically, we become more and more attached to Krishna, right? So that's why actually when we render service unto Lord Krishna, who's a transcendental Lord, then the detachment and knowledge we can actually able. It is very detachment and knowledge. Those things we can able to actually achieve it by actually engaging ourselves in service of the Krishna. So these things actually that falls into category of greed, is definitely impediment, because this is totally actually they contradict what we're trying to do. Okay. Let me share the screen. Okay, continue.
Modern modern warfare waged between capitalists and communists is due to their avoiding the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami regarding Atyahar. Modern capitalists accumulate more wealth than necessary, and the communists, envious of their prosperity, want to nationalize all wealth and property. Unfortunately, the communists do not know how to solve the problem of wealth and its distribution. Consequently, when the wealth of the capitalist falls into the hand of the communists, no solution results. Opposed to these two philosophies, the Krishna conscious ideology states that all wealth belongs to Krishna. Thus, unless all wealth comes under the administration of Krishna, there can be no solution to the economic problem of mankind. Nothing can be solved by placing wealth in the hands of the communist or the capitalist. If a $100 bill is lying on the street, someone may pick it up and put it in his pocket. Such a man is not honest. Another man may see the money and decide to let it remain there, thinking that he should not touch another's property. Although this second man does not steal the money for his own purposes, he is unaware of its proper use. The third man who sees the $100 bill may pick it up, find the man who lost it and deliver it to him. This man does not steal the money to spend for himself, nor does he neglect it and let it lie in the street. By taking it and delivering it to the man who has lost it, this man is both honest and wise.
Okay, so here Srila Prabhupada is giving the example of actually the war waged between the capitalists and communists, right? So actually, when Srila Prabhupada was present, so at that time, this Cold War between actually, this capitalistic countries, so maybe United States and communist nations, that was very prominent at that time. So the capitalism, you're actually, you must know, the concept of capitalism and communism. So yes, so the capitalists, actually, they are more interested in accumulate more and more wealth, so and they have the ownership. So yes, obviously it can be atyahar, it can be greed, yes. Versus actually the communists, they actually think that wealth should be actually equally distributed among the citizens of a country, right? So they want to actually nationalize it. So that is a concept. However, Srila Prabhupada says that yes, the communist people can be envious of a capitalist because they have more wealth in their hands as compared to them, and once they nationalize it, so they want to actually equally distribute among the actually the citizens of that particular nation or actually community. So however, Srila Prabhupada make the point that Once that wealth falls in the hand of communists, he do not know how to solve this problem of wealth and its distribution, right? Or actually, further in purpose, Srila Prabhupada says that actually, when the wealth comes into the hands of communists, probably he will end up using it for his own sense gratification, right? And we see that happening in today's world as well. There are some communist countries, and you see actually that actually there are so many issues. It's not like that because they are following communism. Everybody's happy in their state. It's not like that, because even the people in the same actually people in communist or capitalists, they have the similar tendencies of what we currently studying, the atyahar or greed. All those actually faults, present in everyone. So the wealth, as soon as the wealth comes in my hand, yes, I try to actually use it for myself, or actually try to save it, for the future, and try to use it for my and or maybe my near and dear ones sense gratification. So ultimately, again, actually, there is no any solution to this actually conflict between capitalism and in communism. However, when we Srila Prabhupada is pointing out the Krishna conscious philosophy, right? So in Sri Ishopnishad, so it is mentioned that actually the everything in this world, material world or spiritual world, as you know, everything belongs to Krishna. So whatever you see here on this planet as well, everything is actually owned by the Krishna, and he is the ultimate proprietor. So once we accept this and actually we behave accordingly, then actually there can be peace, in the society. So Srila Prabhupada says that unless wealth comes under the administration of Krishna, there is no solution to this economic problem of mankind. Nothing can be solved by placing a wealth in the hands of communist or capitalists. So ultimately, we have to accept that the Krishna is the actually ultimate proprietor of everything. So as soon as there is actually we don't accept it, there is always a struggle between two men, regarding the distribution of a wealth. So here is the Anshila Prabhupada further says that actually there is a very nice example given here, when there is the example of $100 bill, lying on the street. So yes, some people actually, as soon as they see the money, maybe there's a natural tendency to grab it, so it's very common among people who are not honest. Uh, Not everyone is like that. Some people are honest as well. Some people even don't touch it, right? Saying that, oh, that doesn't belong to me. I should not touch it. So yes, I have seen that actually happening as well. But the third point, that is actually say actually getting that, actually picking that money up and actually finding a person to whom it's belong, right? So this is the right thing to do. It involves the effort, it's a headache to actually find a person, verify that actually it's actually belong to him and give it back to him, right? So normally sometimes people don't even worry about it. Oh, it's not mine. Don't worry about it. Actually, means I used to think like that. If I see money lying, maybe I will pick it up and put it on desk and leave it there. Somebody might come and get it. But actually taking that effort to find, to whom it belong, and actually going back and giving it to him, yes, it's a lot of effort, and you have to do it. So that is actually person is called wise, and honest as well. So the devotee should be like that. So there could be a situation where you will not find a person, to whom it belong. Somebody who lost is already walked away. So in that situation, an honest person, what they will do, if they already know that everything belongs to Krishna, somehow he will use it in Krishna's service. So to whom, so whoever owns that money, he might get some kind of actually credit or sukruti. That is money is being used in Krishna's service. So that is a devotee attitude. So I found this very actually interesting point. No, actually, because sometimes people they say, oh, actually, I'm not going to take any other's money. I'm just going to let it lie there. Somebody who lost it, he will come back and get it. So the third point, the actually honest and wise point. So remember that actually, that's the actually how devotee should behave. Okay, let's read the further actually paragraph. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that point in detail. Hmm.
Simply transferring wealth from capitalists to communists cannot solve the problem of modern politics, for it has been demonstrated that when a communist gets money, he uses it for his own sense gratification. The wealth of the world actually belongs to Krishna, and every living entity, man and animal, has the birthright to use God's property for his maintenance. When one takes more than his maintenance requires, be he a capitalist or a communist, he is a thief, and as such he is liable to be punished by the laws of nature. The wealth of the world should be used for the welfare of all living entities, for that is the plan of Mother Nature. Everyone has the right to live by utilizing the wealth of the Lord. When people learn the art of scientifically utilizing the Lord's property, they will no longer encroach upon one another's rights. Then an ideal society can be formed. The basic principle for such a spiritual society is stated in the first mantra of Sri Ishopanishad. Ishavasyammidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha magrida kasya svidhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong.
Okay, so here actually the reference is given from Sri Ishopanishad. This is the first verse of Sri Ishopanishad. It's a very important verse. So here that actually verse actually basically declares that actually everything, animate or inanimate, in this universe, not just planet, in this universe, everything is controlled and owned by the Lord, right? So that's the point we're actually discussing. And actually by knowing this, actually one's duty is to actually only accept what is required for his own maintenance, and actually which is actually his quota, and should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Okay, so this is very very important instruction. So when we actually study Sri Ishopanishad, obviously we'll spend a lot of time on this verse, so we can actually study this point in depth. So here, because there is a reference to the actually between the capitalism and communism, as Srila Prabhupada is saying that it doesn't matter actually who's controlling the wealth, as long as the object, if someone uses it for the sense gratification, the result will be the same, right? So by just changing a system, actually the problem will not be solved, So you need to actually address the root cause. The root cause is the propensity towards a sense gratification, everyone actually try to make themselves happy, means basically try to satisfy their own senses or the senses of their near and dear one. So you can see in a political system, like the first thing they do is they try to actually hoard the wealth for themselves, then they will get some wealth for their followers, their near and dear ones, so you see that it's very common everywhere. So as long as there is actually tendency to sense gratify, the problem is not going to be solved. Doesn't matter actually who's controlling the wealth. So ultimately, that's why Srila Prabhupada says that unless we come to this philosophy of actually Krishna consciousness, and this specific actually instruction from Sri Ishobnishad, Isayavasam principle. So that everything belongs to the God, and everyone has a birthright, And when we say everyone, Srila Prabhupada is saying not just referring to actually human being, but also animals and other species as well. So they have an equal right to use God's property for their maintenance. And it is also said that actually there is no need of any conflict, because there is actually another actually invocation mantra where it says that Krishna actually he's complete, is perfectly complete, and anything that actually emanates from him is also perfectly complete, within actually itself. So this actually the Earth planet where we live. So all the actually species, the living entities, they actually on this planet, and whatever is required for their maintenance, everything is provided here. Okay, so there should not be any conflict, However, because of our tendency or the greed, or atyahar, we try to actually encroach on somebody else's quota, so we try to grab somebody else's property. actually, because unless we have this greed or actually the tendency to actually accumulate more and more, we always end up into this problem, right? So this is actually the very important thing, that actually one has to identify what is actually required for his maintenance, what is his quota. And as long as he remains satisfied with that, then there is no need of actually need to encroach somebody else quota. So this is very important actually instruction. And when we actually look into this point of actually, we should only accept what is required for our maintenance. So that is actually the big point to think about, what is actually required for my maintenance. So there could be actually, the quota might be different for different individuals depending on their situation. So it's not like that actually there is a set quota for everyone and it's going to be exactly the same, right? So as you know that actually once the actually living entity, they take birth in this material world, they may actually born into the situation that they may born in a wealthy family, they may born in a maybe a little bit poor family. So that is all on account of their previous karmas and all that. So when we had the discussion that actually where we said that in India, actually, like in big cities, you can see that actually some people are living in skyscrapers. Actually they are very rich, and just opposite to that actually building, there could be small huts. People are living in there. But actually, there is those people are not really actually going and complaining about it, because they understand this point of karma. Actually, as per our karma, we get what we have. However, this point is not very much realized in Western countries. So there is a lot of conflict whenever there's actually, some people are getting too much rich and some people are actually suffering. Then there is always a conflict. So that's where this actually the problem of capitalism to communism or communism to capitalism, that conflict is going on and is always going to remain there, unless we address the root problem, the root cause of the problem. So yes, so yeah, so first we think about what is my quota, and how I learn to mind my own quota. So the very first point what we discuss is the actually simple living and high thinking. So it's very much relevant here when we actually read this actually instruction here in the purport from Srila Prabhupada. So yes, you understand what is your quota, what is required for your maintenance. Try to keep actually our living standard very simple. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also mentioned. For devotee, they should only accept simple clothing. Wear simple clothing, accept simple prasad. Not very opulent prasad every day. Maybe yeah, once in a while is okay on the festivals, but on daily actually basis, you should actually try to actually keep it very simple. So by doing so, actually we are controlling our senses, right? We try to actually restrict them. So that is always going to be beneficial, and by doing so our health will be actually maintained as well in a good condition, because we require this body in a healthy state to actually do the devotional service. Because once you lose the wealth, then it's very hard to actually continue the devotional service. Even the chanting will become challenging, when you're sick. So you must have actually must have this experience. When you're sick, even completing 16 round could be difficult for some people. Some may do it, depending on the situation. So health is very, very important. Once you have the good health, then actually you can use it in Krishna service. So any actually questions on this point, the Ishavasana principle? We are going to study, when we study the Shri Ishobnishad, it's a big verse and there is a big purport given by Srila Prabhupada in Shri Ishobnishad. Okay. We'll continue.
Krishna conscious devotees know very well that this material world is designed by the complete arrangement of the Lord to fulfill all the necessities of life for all living beings, without their having to encroach upon the life or rights of one another. This complete arrangement affords the proper quota of wealth for everyone according to his real needs, and thus everyone may live peacefully according to the principle of plain living and high thinking. Unfortunately, materialists who have neither faith in the plan of God nor any aspirations for higher spiritual development misuse their God-given intelligence only to augment their material possessions. They devise many systems such as capitalism and materialistic communism to avoid their material position. They are not interested to advance their material position. They are not interested in the laws of God or in a higher goal. Always anxious to fulfill their unlimited desires for sense gratification, they are conspicuous by their ability to exploit their fellow living beings.
Okay.
When humans
Yes.
When human society gives up these elementary faults enumerated by Srila Rupa Goswami, Hare, etc., all enmity will cease between men and animals, capitalists and communists, and so forth. In addition, all problems of economic or political maladjustment and instability will be solved. This pure consciousness is awakened by the proper spiritual education and practice offered scientifically by the Krishna consciousness movement. This Krishna consciousness movement offers a spiritual community that can bring about a peaceful condition in the world. Every intelligent man should purify his consciousness and rid himself of the above mentioned 6 hindrances to devotional service by taking wholehearted shelter of this Krishna consciousness movement.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here, the Srila Prabhupada is actually talking about this Ishawasam principle, and in this principle is called also a peace formula. So Srila Prabhupada is also he wrote one of the article in Back to Godhead, as he titled it as peace formula. And Srila Prabhupada talk about giving reference to this verse. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying that yes, there is actually quota given to everyone. So this planet Earth has all the resources needed for everyone's maintenance, including human beings, and rest of the actually species, So maybe actually the animals, insect, everyone, So everything is nicely arranged. So as long as actually we follow this principle that actually everything belongs to Krishna, and we identify our quota, what is actually required for my maintenance, and we mind our quota, and do not encroach on somebody else's quota, that there could be actually peaceful situation between actually two living entities. So here actually in today's world, as Srila Prabhupada says that there is always a struggle between the capitalist and communist. Even is very much relevant in today as well. As you see what's happening in the world, there is a clear divide in world politics. So we see that, and there are actually problems, and even within that, people have their own agendas. There is actually that everybody has their personal agenda, so they play politics with each other, right? And there is always constant struggle. So as you say, there are many wars being waged, today as well. And when you look into the root cause, is always actually is somebody's greed. So there's a lot of hypocrisy. They actually make their own rules, saying that okay. So if somebody is doing something, they say you cannot do this, but I can because I'm powerful. They may not say that I'm powerful. Oh, they say that this is actually good for general well-being of the people in this world. So they may actually give different actually names or designations, but actually the underlying point is that actually there is always a greed or atyahar. So that's why there is actually always a conflict between the two nations or the two communities or two individuals. So we see that happening everywhere. So Srila Prabhupada is giving here a peace formula that actually by following this Ishavasam principle, so if we really able to actually implement that practically, then there could be actually peaceful situation. Srila Prabhupada is saying that enmity between man and animal, capitalist and communist, and so forth, it can be all resolved. All problems of economic and political maladjustment and instability will be solved, right? But we see that no one is actually interested in this principle, right? That's why there is economic instability. There is always a recession. There is always a war being waged between different nations. There is always actually riots between two communities. in the name of religion or in the name of some political party, whatever it may be. So there is a problem everywhere, and everyone is working very hard to resolve this situation, right? So political parties are actually working very hard. They claim they are working very hard to actually come to the peaceful solution between two communities, and it is happening on the international actually stage as well. There is a United Nations. So I remember this point because Srila Prabhupada actually said that actually this United Nations, they actually form to actually to ensure or to maintain the peaceful situation within the world, right? So there could be cooperation and everyone is working very nicely with each other. But Srila Prabhupada said, when you look at the United Nations, you see all these flags, of different nations. So everyone under this actually banner of United Nations had their own flag and their own agenda, and everyone is fighting for their agenda. So they're not really united. There is always a struggle within the United Nations. So this is a biggest hypocrisy. You will see it, and in today's world we can see that this, even there is United Nation, is very dysfunctional. It cannot really stop any war. It cannot really bring any peaceful situation between two conflicts. They are just there. Even they actually got their own agenda. They are actually supporting one party. They may be ignoring another party. So this conflict is always there between communism, capitalism, or two religions. So we see that, but the root cause is actually these are the actually this actually our tendencies, or the this Srila Prabhupada said these faults, 6 faults mentioned in this verse. Atyahara prayashasya prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangasya laulamcha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. So shadbir bhaktir vinashyati, these 6 faults, they can actually check our progress. They can destroy our devotional service, if we fail to correct them, or actually if we fail to implement this instruction given in this verse, and practically implement them in our life. That's why Srila Prabhupada says that actually this Krishna conscious movement offers a spiritual community that can bring about a peaceful condition in the world. Every intelligent man should purify his consciousness and rid himself of the above mentioned 6 hindrances to the devotional service by taking wholehearted shelter of this Krishna conscious movement. Okay. So yes, the last point is very, very important, that actually if you're looking for a peaceful condition within this world, within the two communities or within the two individuals, or we're looking for the peace just for our own mind, if you want to be in peaceful situation, these instructions apply to everyone, every individual, every community, every nation. So as long as we address these problems, there could be we can actually assure the peaceful condition, right? So Srila Prabhupada gives here a peace formula here. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions? I think we got 10 minutes. Definitely we'll take a break, but if there are any questions, you can ask now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Next session we will have question and answer. So shall we put all the questions that we had in the previous class also?
Yes,
Single
Prabhuji.
message.
So yeah, I saved actually a couple of questions that you posted. So I have them on my file. So you could also post all the questions, So even if you don't remember, please post them all, so we can actually compile them together and send it to the Amrish Babu. And the next session will be then question and answer session, right? And any other actually doubts you have, that then Amrish Babu can actually able to resolve them. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, even the new question that I have when I study it throughout the week, if I have some new question, I can put it up.
Yes, please. Yeah. Just post them in the forum. So Amrish Babu has enough time, so he can actually prepare for all those questions, and then we can actually have that session. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
this is for everyone, and actually don't wait until the last. Please post them well in advance. Sometime you forget as well, and also we will have enough time to prepare. Okay. So let's take actually 8 minutes break now, and then we'll come back to the next session. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhu.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Bol. So thank you very much for your class today. So just to clarify this, so next week it is going to be, you finished the the chapter, this particular text now?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, we just concluded.
So next week would be questions to which I have to answer, or you'll be answering?
I think Prabhuji, you answer, because I try to answer most of them during the session.
You answered it as you go.
Yeah. But actually, I asked them to put it because you can actually explain that in detail. During the last session.
Okay, I'll try my best.